Let's create some animations inside Premiere Pro. And this is something that I was the most excited about when I started out with Premiere Pro. So let's get straight into it. What I'm going to do here is head over in my project panel to my image folder. I'm going to open that up, and right here I have an image of a mountain. I'm going to drag this into my timeline like so, and we're going to animate this picture right here. So select that picture and head over to your effects controls. I'm going to open up the motion property right here, and I'm going to scale this picture a little bit more down, like this. Now what I want to do here with this picture is animate its position. So we can change that position here to the left side like that, but I want to make an animation so that it starts right here and moves to that right side. In other words, we have to animate this value right here. Well, first up, we need to open up the clip timeline. We have the edit timeline, which is right here. This is our general timeline, but each clip also has an individual timeline in which we can make these animations. And mine is already open here on the right side of my effects controls here. But sometimes you don't see this, and that is because it is collapsed. And you can kind of collapse or expand it or show and hide the timeline view through this little button right here on top. So just click on that, which will collapse it, or click on it again to expand it. Now to create an animation, and this is sometimes hard to understand for people who are coming from the photography world because they work in stills, is that we need to think about time. When we are going to animate something, it means it will go from point A to point B, and that takes up some time, for example 1 second. So that's why here in our timeline or mini timeline view of that clip, we also have to set that first point, point A in time, which always is the beginning point. And that's why we usually want to set this here at the beginning somewhere. And on that point, we want to save the value of the current position. So what I'm going to do here is change my position to my point A statement like that. So this right here is the starting point of that clip. And I'm going to create now a keyframe, which is a certain point which holds this value. I'm kind of want to save that into it. So to do that, I'm going to enable animation by clicking on this button right here, and that will automatically already create that keyframe right here, as you can see, little dot. Now let's move a little bit forward in time, like this, and what I want to do now is change that position of this clip. So let's change the value right here to the right side, like that. And automatically, you will see that Premiere Pro will create a second keyframe. And Premiere Pro did that because he saw that you were changing that value. And since you have animation enabled right here, he knows, okay, let's just create a keyframe for that. He's changing a value. Let's save that value. So we have a point A with the beginning position. Let's check that out right here. And we have a point B with an ending position like that. 2 points with a different value. Now let's see what happens when we are going to play that clip. There you go, your first animation inside Premiere Pro. And this is how animation works with using these keyframes. Now the cool thing about Premiere is that every single one of these properties have such a stopwatch, so meaning that we can create an animation for it. We can also do that for the scale, for example. So let's stand back here in the beginning and let's just scale it down even more, a very small picture. Let's create a keyframe for that or enable the animation. Move forward in time and increase that scale. Now we kind of have a double animation. And let's play that. Look at this. Now the picture is changing in position but also becoming larger in scale. Now to disable the animation or delete all of your keyframes, just click that stopwatch button again to toggle it off. And Premiere will also warn you that all of your keyframes will be deleted. Press OK. Now let's say that your animation right here of that position goes a little bit too slow. You want it to go faster. What you then have to do is just bring point A and point B closer to each other. You are giving Premiere or these keyframes less time to go from one point to another. So let's just do that. Grab one of these keyframes and move them closer to each other. Let's play it right now, and it goes much faster, as you can see. Now previously we also saw that the motion property right here had this little icon next to it, which means that we can click on this property and visually change the properties here in the program monitor. But look at this right here. Let me just zoom in on that as well, just enlarge this a tiny bit more. We can actually see the path of the animation that we've just created. And when we are going to play this clip, you will also see that that animation will go over that path. It might not be that clear because of this picture here, but it is in blue, as you can see. And we can also change this path visually. We can actually grab one of these out points right here and drag that to a different position, like that. Also with this one, just drag that to a different position, like so. And when we are going to play it right now, it will just kind of follow this line right here, like this. So we can visually change that path of the animation. Now, some animations, like the path of the position, also has some levers. And if you are familiar to working in Photoshop with the mask tool in there, or the pen tool, then you know that we can also pull these levers, and you can kind of see them right here. It's very tiny. Let me just zoom in on that. It's an extra dot that is connected to your starting point. And if you are going to pull on that, you can kind of see what we're doing here. We can kind of make an arc of our animation like that. So we can also do that with the second point right here. Just pull on that. And sometimes I have to look myself where that point is. It is right here, I believe. I know, it's right there, right here. So like that. And now we're kind of making this S-curve out of this animation. So let me just pull this a bit more like that. And let's play this now and see how that goes. There we go. The photo is now going into this S arc. So that's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to delete all the keyframes for the position. There we go. And I'm going to drag this clip right here. Also scale it a little bit down like that. I'm going to create that animation again. But what I want to do now is do something different. I'm going to create a keyframe for the starting position like that. I'm going to move forward in time. Grab that picture perhaps like this, move that to the right side, but now I want that picture to stay there for a brief moment and then move on. So I'm going to move forward in time, and at this point I want to create that same exact keyframe again, but because I'm not making changes, Premiere doesn't know that it has to create automatically this new keyframe. So that's why I manually have to do that for that same value. And I can do that from this button right here, which sits next to your value. And that will only appear when you have your animation enabled. And by clicking on that, you can add a keyframe from the same value of the previous keyframe. So in between here, these two values are exactly the same, so nothing will happen, which is exactly what we want. Now let's move a bit forward in time. And now let's take that or select that motion again so that we can grab the picture and move that to a different location like that. And now when we are going to play this clip, you'll now see that the clip will play, stop for a brief moment, and move on. That is what we've created here. And again, like we've seen previously, we can always grab these keyframes, move them around. Maybe that pause has to be a little bit longer, like this. And if we're going to play this now, you will see that that pause will be longer. So we can always change these keyframes at all time. All right, I'm going to delete all of these keyframes again because there's one more thing that I want to show you to these keyframes, and that are smooth keyframes. And this is a bit more advanced, but it is something that will kind of take the edge off those harder keyframes and making your animations look a lot more professional. So let me show that to you guys. Again, create a keyframe for the beginning, like that, move on in time, and change the value right here to the right side. So this animation right now will just push that image here from the left to the right, like so. Nothing really fancy. But take a look at the starting animation. How does that picture start? And how now does that picture end? That was pretty instant, wasn't it? The image just started moving right away and stopped moving right away. There wasn't really an acceleration, which is more natural to any animation. So what we can do here is right-click on this keyframe, the first keyframe, and heading over to Temporal Interpolation and say Ease Out. And that way, let's just click on that. That way we are telling to Premiere Pro, okay, slowly start your animation, accelerate, and then go to your last point. And for the final keyframe, we're going to say Temporal Interpolation, Ease In. Now some of you might think, why ease out with the first keyframe and ease in with the last keyframe? Shouldn't that be the other way around? Well, you always have to see it this way. Where is your animation going to? Looking here at this keyframe, the animation is actually coming out of that keyframe. And that is why we are selecting ease out. And this is our final keyframe, so it's coming inside this keyframe. And that is why we're saying ease in. That's something to remember there. All right, let's play this now and look at the animation of this photo. It starts smooth and it also stops smooth. That is what we want, and that will make the difference between an amateur and professional animation. I'm going to head over now to my effects library right here, and let's just search for something. It doesn't matter, let's backtake that blur effect. It's somewhere right here, the Gaussian blur, and drag that to our photo. And let's locate that directional blur, it's right here. Now also here, we can find that exact same stopwatch here, the toggle animation button next to that property. Basically any property. So that means we can also create animations with certain effects properties. Let's go back to the beginning and let's add some blurriness to this photo like that. Let's just add a lot of blur like this so we completely don't see what's going on in this picture. Let's make a keyframe for the blurriness like that. Move forward in time and now change that to 0, which is no blur at all. So let's play this here in between, and now you will see that this picture will go from a blur to not a blur. So that is a great way to kind of reveal a text or an image or a video clip, doesn't matter. And speaking of texts, let's have a look at that. From my toolbox, I'm going to take the text tool, and let's just go a little bit further here in my timeline on a blank space. I'm going to create a new text. So let's say awesome text. As always, the only thing that I can come up with. Awesome text, there we go. Let's just put that big in the middle like that. Now we can head over to the window here on top and select Essential Graphics, open up that panel, head over to the Edit right here. Let me just change my panels a bit so that you guys can see what I'm doing, like that. Now right in here, we don't really see that stopwatch to toggle the animation. So we kind of have to select that motion graphic clip, which is right here in a timeline. Just move that up as well. There we go. And head over to the effects controls, and from there we do see all the properties, the same properties of that text actually, that we can also find within the Essential Graphics panel. But through the effects controls, we also see those stopwatches for the animation. Now pretty cool is that within this layer, I have it selected right here, the text animation. Within there, we can change the position of that text. So again, we can create an animation for the position like that. So that kind of moves from the left to the right. There we go. And we've done that animation on the text, not on the clip. Because if you want to add an animation to the clip itself, we have to go up and do that underneath the motion property. Here we also have that position property, which will change the position of the entire group, not of that specific text. So that is something to keep in mind there. And this is exactly why you want to create these templates with your graphics, because once you are going to create animations, putting a lot of time and effort into it, you want to save that into your Essential Graphics library right here. And we also do that for our work. We work for YouTube, so we have tons of SVOs, end cards, intros, etc. that we have animated and imported inside this Essential Graphics library, so we can use that for every new episode to keep the branding, of course. Alright guys, next up is a little quiz. A quiz about creating texts, creating animations, using the Essential Graphics panel and its library. Good luck with that quiz, and then I'll see you guys back, and then we're going to speed up and slow down some clips.